think this is always just such a big game, whether you want to call it a rivalry or you just got some top softball going on here in Waco, Texas. I mean, you can't get away from a chance to knock off a #3 team in the nation if you're Baylor and you just want to compete at your best level. And Oklahoma, first time facing a top-ranked opponent this season, so they've got to come out playing hard too. So it's just some good softball you'd hope to see today.
Starter for the Bears in the circle, it's the lefty Lily Walker, 1-0 with a 3.94 earned run average, 6 strikeouts on the year already. Just 2 walks for the Oklahoma native. Starting against Oklahoma, that might add a little extra juice.
Yeah, absolutely. You always love to play in front of your hometown. I mean, here you go. It's game 2 in your home stadium, and you're playing against people who probably watched you for a while growing up. So, I mean, it's time to perform, and it's time to compete.
These 2 teams have met 90 times previously. Oklahoma has won 22 of the last 23 meetings with the Bears, but that one game might be one that Oklahoma would want back. It came in 2023, the season where the Sooners went 61-1. Their only loss right here at Getterman Stadium. And no, it wasn't a part of a conference series. It was a part of the Getterman Classic as non-conference foes. They went 18-0 in Big 12 play that year, but their one loss was right here. They're trying to avenge it here today. First pitch is outside for a ball, and we are underway as Walker gets us started against Abigail Dayton.
You come to compete every time you step on the field, but you don't realize the impact that a game might have. I mean, you're Baylor, you're trying to knock off #1 Oklahoma at the time, and they do 2 years ago in the Getterman Classic. Not to know that you fast forward to the end of that season, Oklahoma's national champions with the -1 that came at right here.
Yeah, at the time, you think it's just a big win for your program. First out is recorded. Dayton flies out to left, 1 down. But as the season goes on, Oklahoma starts their winning ways. They keep putting them in the win column, and they end up with 61 wins and the 1 loss. You go back and say, wow, that was actually a much bigger game than even it felt like at the time. And that's what something like this can turn into. Of course, Oklahoma enters undefeated on the year. Baylor looking for their first ranked win of the season. Of course, they took on Texas A&M last weekend and had a controversial yet close loss in that one to the Aggies, a team that's currently in the top 10 of the polls. Ella Parker steps in. Parker had 2 homers in that first matchup of the day against Hofstra, both to the same spot, right in the middle of left center field. Currently the wind blowing in from right field. And she'll rope this one down the left field line. It drops in for a base hit. Oklahoma has their first base runner.
And just continuing that inside-out swing that you just talked about. Watching her in the last game against Hofstra, taking that to the left center gap. And right there, that same thing, keeping the hands inside the ball, taking that outside pitch and hitting it where it's pitched.
Now 4 base hits on the day. She had 3 in that first matchup, go along with 4 RBIs. Here she sets the table for Sydney Sanders. Sanders looking for her first base hit. She reached a couple of times, once with a hit by pitch and a walk. Flew out in her second at bat against Hofstra, facing Haley Venturini in that matchup. Sanders, who was a big part of Oklahoma going an undefeated 6-0 in their first weekend, a road trip on the West Coast. Hitting over 400 during that 6-game stretch, now at 357 after the 0-for-1 performance in game 1. Takes a strike here. You look up and down this order, and it is a challenge for players in the circle opposite, no matter if there's inexperience or not, because even the transfers and the newcomers for Patty Gasso's bunch still have the high level of talent, and that's why an out like that to retire Sanders is big for the second one.
Well, only just because you're facing Oklahoma, but because you want to come out and win this game. So you've got to establish the strike zone early. You've got to set a tone for the game, and that comes from the circle. A lot of times your offense will follow the way that you're pitching. So, I mean, as a pitcher, you have to wear a lot of that weight, especially if you're the home team here. You're coming out, you're starting in the circle, and you've got to, like I said, set the tone, and you've got to be the spark a lot of times.
Senior in Walker understands that. Transfer from Duke, where she pitched in over 63 innings last year. Had a sub-2 ERA over 28 appearances in the circle, was 12-1 last year with the Blue Devils, and helped Duke to an appearance in the Women's College World Series. What a run that was for really the Blue Devils program. And now Coach Glenn Moore able to recruit Lily Walker. A chance to start against OU at home. That's a great way to make a home debut.
I mean, you look at this Baylor lineup, and you have 12 seniors, 15 upperclassmen, but you can't just look at that for face value, because 8 of them are first year at Baylor. So you have over half your team that's new, and this, I'd say the same for Oklahoma.
This one easily handled by Pylon at second off of the handle. Oklahoma held scoreless for the first time today, sending the junior out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Kirsten Deal, into the circle. Second team all Big 12 honoree last season, and all tournament team selection. Has won 2 championships with the Sooners, and even had a no-hitter against Tulsa back in April of last season. 20 appearances last year. She's had 3 this year. Over 11 1/3 innings pitched. She's allowed just the 1 earned run. First pitch swinging to start it off. Brooklyn Carter leads it off for this Baylor bunch. Baylor entering at 4-2. Their 2 losses against number 8 Texas A&M last week, and then to Utah State the game after that. First home game of the campaign last night against Hofstra. First Big 12 and ranked matchup, of course, with Oklahoma in this matchup. That sails high.
You gotta love this lefty-on-lefty matchup here too. Anytime you need a lefty pitcher in that circle, it just makes such a huge difference in the sport.
Yeah, lefty in the circle, and really the only way to combat that is with another lefty. Somebody with the speed like Carter possesses out of that left-handed batter's box.
It can be difficult too when you're a slapper and you're kind of moving through the box like that. She can throw a curveball inside you, and that's coming right at you. You can't avoid it.
And that one goes high. The slap hitter swings and misses, and there's the first strikeout.
Number 16, Presley Pylon.
That ball just jumped, as you can see right there.
That's the interesting side of it. With the pitcher in the circle and Deal, she's not really a strikeout pitcher. She's not like Sam Landry, who's also on this Oklahoma staff that has 23 strikeouts and a couple of walks on the year. Deal is more of a keep the ball down, let your defense work type of pitcher. But against a lineup like Baylor, you might see a high strikeout total because of the power bats that Baylor employs. Chopper to second, gloved and thrown over to first for the second out of the inning. Easy play for Agbayani.
A lot of times, too, is just how you set up your strike zone. You saw a lot of Deal here throwing that rise ball up in the zone and making it jump and having these players chase that. If you establish that low in the zone, then you can get probably some more strikeouts because of the way that you've set it up. And that pitch may not be working for you one day.
Stepping in is the All-American from a year ago. Govan has her first opportunity of the day, looking for her first hit of the season. Of course, only played in the one game last weekend. Started last night for Glen Moore's ball club. Only her third appearance of the year, and she's hitless in 5 plate appearances. Has worked a couple of walks to start her campaign. You can tell Oklahoma doesn't want to go anywhere near the wheelhouse of Shaylin Govan.
Well, they may have a memory of her from 2 years ago. It was Shaylin Govan's 3-run home run that put them over the top of this Oklahoma Sooner team.
This one does scratch the inside corner. Kirsten Deal does exactly what her last name suggests. She deals. One of the things on the scouting report that's most notable is her control. Does not miss her spots very often. Govan ropes it into center, but it is right to the center fielder in Dayton, and the inning comes to a close. Baylor retired so over 1,500 wins during her time at Oklahoma, including one this morning, including 22 of the last 23 meetings with Baylor. She has the conversation with her good friend Glen Moore. That's part of why this should continue into the future, because there is a great relationship between Oklahoma and Baylor as the two programs, once in the Big 12 together, and between the two head coaches that have been at their respective programs for over a quarter century.
Yeah, 31 years and 25 years, all in the same place. You think multiple times facing each other each year. The last couple of years, Baylor and Oklahoma looking to face each other even in the preseason. And so you just, there's a lot of respect for the coach and a lot of respect for what type of program they run, and why not compete against the best?
Right now, Oklahoma has been the standard. 4 straight national championships, 8 overall, 2000, 2013, 2016, 2017, and then they've won each of the last 4 up in Oklahoma City. But they were picked to finish 3rd in the SEC. Currently the 3rd-ranked team in the country behind 2 SEC foes. It's almost like it's out of place whenever you look at the preseason poll and you don't see Oklahoma sitting there at the top, but that's the respect that Texas and Florida have garnered within the league and within the voting rights across the board as well. Hard hit, sharper, grounder to short, 1 down. Oklahoma's put good bat on the ball, but has grounded out a couple times already. Tobin with the easy play to retire McEnroe Marinas.
And you got to give credit there to Lily Walker, too. I mean, she's throwing hard. She's mixing that ball around at the plate. And, I mean, it's hard to just blow a pitch by these Oklahoma hitters. She's doing a great job, though, of leaving it in the zone to where it's an easy out for the defense. And Amber Tobin just taking advantage of that right there, making it look so simple. That ball was hit a lot harder than what it looks like.
Worm burner, as they like to call it. That one catches the outside corner. Frozen at the plate was Eliana Agbayani. Eliana, who had an RBI double in that first matchup, was not retired. Worked a couple of walks as well against Hofstra. That one inside, and she won't be retired here either.
That's where you get that lefty on lefty right there. That makes it dangerous. That ball does not break. You just give an easy pass to first base.
Were you a lefty?
I was a lefty.
Sounds like it. I feel a little lefty bias here across the board.
And we had some tough lefty pitchers in the Big 12 when I played too. I mean, by the name of Kat Osterman, Lauren Bay. I mean, you had some hard-throwing lefties that come right at you.
They were pretty good, weren't they?
Well, they're not bad.
Not bad at all. Oklahoma's had some hard-throwing lefties in the past. Baylor hoping they have one here with Walker. That could be an all Big 12 honoree, just as she was in the ACC. Runner goes. This one hit well deep into left field. Turned on it, and it's off the foul pole. The freshman, Sydney Barker, puts Oklahoma on the board. It's 2-0 in Waco.
Well, she did a great job of getting all of that pitch right there, too. We just complimented Lily Walker on working the seams and working the edge of the plate. She left that one right over. She crushed the mistake. Got around all of that and set it sailing.
About a third of the way up the foul pole. The only question on that one was, would it stay fair? It indeed did. Second homer of the year for Sydney Barker. And just as Oklahoma did to start the matchup with Hofstra in their first game of the day, they strike first with a 2-run blast. It was Ella Parker that did so in the first inning of that early game, and now it's Barker that does it in the second. Here's the catcher, Isabella Immerling. Hard hit right back up the middle. Easy play, though, for Walker. She backhands it off the circle, and there's 2 down. How important is that for a pitcher? Give up the long ball against a very talented lineup 1 through 9 to retire the next hitter and try and get out of the inning before going back to the top of that order.
I mean, you have to do that, and your top competitors will do that. You can't let that defeat you and just dictate the rest of the game. You got to realize, okay, that's a one-pitch mistake, and to come back and set that standard all over again. I think that's the hardest thing about a home run a lot of times. It's not just the fact that it's easy runs on the board, but it's the mental load that carries from that circle.
A lot of mental battles going on, as well as the physical. Saw that a little bit in game 1 as well. Baylor allowed a couple of early base runners to Hofstra, didn't blink, and instead put up a crooked number in the bottom half of the first and set the tone early against the Pride. This one's also roped into center. That'll get over the head of Carter, and one hop the wall. Rounding first on her way to second base with a 2-out double is Gabby Garcia. The freshman in the bottom of the Oklahoma lineup showing off here in Waco, Texas.
And that's the competition that Oklahoma brings. It's not just the big hits, but it's the constant. We saw that against Hofstra in the game before this, but it's the consistent approach. Like, okay, I gave up a home run. I got to jump back from that, but now I give up a double. And, you know, it doesn't matter where I put it, they're going to hit it hard. And that's the mental. You got to get past that. You got to fight on a different level.
Well, now you have to deal with the top of the order. Dayton, who flew out in her first at-bat to Dawson and left. 0 for 1 in this one. Gets her second plate appearance. Corners are in for the Baylor defense. There's a called strike to even it up at 1-1. Lily Walker in her 3 appearances this year, this being the 3rd. It was 1 at Texas A&M. Gave up 6 earned runs on 6 hits over 4 innings. Struck out 1, walked a pair. Bounced back in a big way the next day against Villanova. Throw down behind the runner. It was bobbled at second base by Pylon. On to third goes Garcia. She slides in safely and swipes the bag with 2 outs.
That play is set up like that, too. That was not an accident. You can see the big lead she gets. Flores throws right behind her and hung onto that base.
The junior catcher, Abby Flores, makes the mistake. You never want to throw behind a runner unless you know they're going back to the bag, and they've committed that direction. That's a tough one to gauge one way or the other because of the hesitation there from Garcia. Perfectly executed by the freshman base runner. 2 strikes. This one driven in the left center field. In comes Carter. She makes the grab in the alleyway to retire the side. Oklahoma strikes with Sydney Barker's second homer of the year. They lead it 2-0 on the road this year. And there's a lot of respect not only within the community, but really within the entire softball landscape for what Coach Moore has built here in Waco.
Well, and not just the record that he puts on the field, as you can see that here at Baylor, but I mean, it's the standard that he sets. It's the way that he runs his program. He's got such respect and dignity for the game, but his faith, too. The way that he cares for the kids. And 25 years later, well, 24 years later since I came to Waco, I'm still friends with him, chat with him. He cares about me and what I'm doing. Invited him to my wedding this summer. I mean, it's just, it's that family atmosphere that he's carried on for 25 years.
The bunt laid down onto first. It is just in time. Perfectly executed off the circle by Deal. And Coleman is gunned down for the first out of the second.
You know, Coleman's been surprising a lot of teams with that quick bunt from the left side, hustling down the line. I'd venture to say this Oklahoma team was not surprised by that. Spent a little bit of time up in Norman, Coleman did, and they're like, hey, we know what she's capable of.
First pitch swinging. Backs up Garcia at short. 2 down. Yeah, the scouting report has been on display early. The base running in the top half of the inning. Of course, the play in the field throughout the first 2 frames already. Oklahoma has been ready for everything that Baylor has thrown their direction.
Now, batting for your Bears, it's number 42, Carrington Dawson.
That's not surprising. Patty Gasso's been around the block a time or 2.
She prepares her teams well. I mean, not only does she recruit talent, she's able to get a lot of talent up in Norman, but she prepares her teams. She's a great coach. I mean, it takes a lot to win 4 straight national championships. It's not just getting the best people, but how do you use those? How do you fill that lineup? How do you train them, prepare them well?
Especially in the NIL era, in the transfer portal era, where everything matters year in and year out. Swing and a miss here from Dawson. And some teams are better post-portal era. Some teams were better before that. Oklahoma's had success in both areas, and that's a testament to what Gasso has done across the board.
Well, yeah, you got one consistency for the past 31 years, and that's Patty Gasso.
This one just going to sneak out of play over the top of McEnroe Marinas. Ricochets off the net. We'll catch up with Coach Gasso here in a couple of innings. Talked to her earlier. She said she's excited about the youth on this Oklahoma roster, and does kind of course, bring up a little sadness knowing that the group that had left Norman is now gone for good and won 4 national championships in the process. But she's excited about building to that point again, whether that's this year and or in the future, the next couple of years.
We talk about just seasons of life and different paces, and there's one thing to be at the top and to fight for that all the time, and it's another just a change of pace, a deep breath to know, okay, I've got a younger squad up and I've got to approach this team differently. Sometimes that's what you need as a teacher and a coach. It's not necessarily the same kids every year, but you just need a breath of fresh air and a new approach to the game.
23rd pitch of the day so far for Kirsten Deal will be a full count to Dawson. And Dawson wants some time prior to the payoff pitch. Dawson hitting .278 on the season. Gets some bat on this one into foul ground. This one will clink off of a post and keeps Dawson alive. Freshman, the only freshman in the entire lineup today for Coach Moore. This is an experienced Baylor bunch, and that's why there's a lot of expectation around this team in 2025. Dawson, she might be a freshman that looks like a veteran at bat to work a 2-out walk.
Especially after somebody dealing like Kristen Deal.
Amber Tovan will step in.
Number 36, Amber Tovan.
Tovan, Los Angeles native. A junior on this roster. is in and out of the lineup in the past, but good to see her back in the fold fully going into her junior year.
And battling quite an injury last year, season-ending injury.
Only had 7 appearances last season because of that. Had a 300 record, or a 300 average rather, going into that injury. Was playing well at the start of the season, and then it forced a player like Pylon to move over from the second base spot over to shortstop. She did a great job over 59 games, but played out of position at times because they like having both of those players in the middle of that infield.
There's not a better duo than Tovin and Pylon up the middle. So then you hate to lose that defense stature that she brings to the field, and it's good to have them both back this year, especially on a team that has a lot of freshmen and has a lot of transfers. They need that consistency.
Baylor doing a good job of getting at least a little bit deeper into these counts. Deal has not been as efficient here in the bottom half of this inning as she was in the first inning. Even if it doesn't turn into runs, you're seeing a lot of pitches, and you're getting back to the point where your lineup will see that second time around, maybe with a little more success.
Well, I mean, kudos to Dawson and Tovin here for doing that very thing, because you have 2 batters. You already got 2 outs, and you have 2 batters with less than 3 pitches at this inning. I mean, your job as a hitter coming up after that is to extend the at-bat, give your pitcher a break, like build the offensive top half of the inning as long as you can. And I mean, drawing a walk and then Tovin fouling off balls to get to 3 and 2 in the count. I mean, that's perfect. Textbook right there.
See if she can complete that and work a board to put a couple on for the top of this order. Crucial pitch coming up for Deal. You can see Tovin knew it. Was ready to strike on that one that was coming anywhere close to the zone, and fouls it off.
Just get jammed with that inside pitch from a lefty.
Lefty v lefty again. Runner goes. This one easily into foul ground. Diving for it is McEnroe Marinas, but it's just off the end of her glove. It would have ended the inning. You could tell the captain in the hot corner thought she had a read on it.
Well, that's just the level of softball you're at right there. It doesn't matter if it's a foul ball. You're giving everything and leaving everything on the field.
High ball 4, back-to-back walks issued by Deal, and Baylor has something brewing with 2 outs here in the second.
Well, and just learning from at-bat to at-bat, you saw the last inning, Baylor comes down swinging on that rise ball way out of the zone. Tovin's able to watch, learn the rhythm that Deal's pitching, and lays off of that.
Circle those 2 at-bats. If Baylor can scratch across a run here, that would be very much so winning softball if they can come through in a big way. It's back to the right-hand side with Leah Cran. Cran with her second appearance of the year, her first start. Looking for her first base hit, the sophomore who saw some time last year with the Bears. Appeared in 36 games, 25 of which in a starting capacity. Grant hit .290, 9 RBIs. Product of Ray High School down in Corpus Christi. A runner at first and second, 2 down, and a 1-2 count. Wackendorf is on deck. Oklahoma thought that was strike 3 and misses up and out.
With 2 strikes, that is a little close to take.
That might be the message from Glenn Moore as well. Don't let it get that close again. 2-2 to Cran, and again going deep into the counts and seeing pitch after pitch after pitch. Good at-bats, quality at-bats.
Well, finding a way to foul that pitch off right there. But, I mean, if you're Leah Cran right now, you can't chase anything higher than that. With 2 strikes, knowing you just got a free pass, you foul a ball off that high, you can't go off anything higher.
Chopper to second. Easy money for Agbayani. And the inning comes to a close. Baylor strands a pair after a couple of walks. It's 2-0 Sooners on to the third. In poll, there's the Baylor Bears sitting in fourth. Of course, no Texas, no Oklahoma. They've jumped to the SEC, but some really tough competition remaining inside the Big 12 standings this year. Most notably, Oklahoma State, a perennial top 10 team. And then you've got Texas Tech, who's currently inside the top 10. They had a couple of tough matchups with Texas already this year. But Arizona State, newcomers to the conference out of the Pac-12, that adds some juice. What do you think about the current landscape across the league?
Oh, you know, I think it just comes down to Big 12. It's such an up-in-the-air conference. I mean, obviously you've had Oklahoma at the top for the last 4 years. Texas right behind it, Oklahoma State right there fighting. You take those dynamics out and you kind of just, hey, it's up for grabs.
Feels like that every year. And of course, Baylor feels like they have an opportunity to take that step and possibly win the league now that they have a couple of the national powers out of the way in doing so. But they got to take down a national power in Oklahoma State to do so. What a day Ella Parker is having. 3 hits in game 1. Game 2, she's 2 for 2, this time with a leadoff single. She can't be stopped right now. She's now hitting above 650 on the season. That's not through 1 or 2 games. That's through 8 games on the campaign. First pitch swinging. This one drilled well deep in the left center field. That one carrying over the wall. Sydney Sanders has a 2-run blast to double the Sooner lead.
Well, Oklahoma here just doing what Oklahoma does best, and they're swinging a hot bat, putting it on anything close to the plate. Walker just leaves this ball. I mean, does a great job trying to get it to the left side of the plate, but leaves it over, and Sanders takes advantage of all of it.
You can see Sanders was looking for something to extend her hands on there and was able to do so. Just a tremendous piece of hitting. And even with that pitch, like you said, being on the outside part of the plate, she was able to get around it enough and drive it over the left center field wall. That's been the hot spot for the Oklahoma bats today. All 4 of their homers here in the Getterman Classic have gone to left field. 3 to that same part of the yard, direct left center field alleyway, and then the one earlier in this one where Sydney Parker clanked it off the foul pole down the left field line.
I'd like to say that there's a consistency with that, or a repetitive nature, but I just think these Oklahoma hitters have great hands, able to hit the ball, because that ball is on the outside part of the plate.
Yeah.
She leans in and crushes that, takes it to the left side.
Yeah, really impressive piece of hitting there. Here's Cassidy Pickering. Was 0 for 3 in the first game. She's 0 for 1 in this one. A ground out to the second baseman. Check swing here. They'll appeal down the third. No go, says Bubba Wald, our third base umpire. And works the count full. Now this one hit well into left. Tough play by Dawson. May have misread it initially, undercut the angle, but made the athletic adjustment to reel it in and avoid extra bases.
when able to read that spin off that lefty bat. Left-handed pitcher comes in off that lefty bat. That ball is spinning backwards. And you can see Dawson makes the step into the gap. But as that spin on the ball just keeps tailing away, she's able to adjust mid-air to take the grab.
Maybe not one of those Sports Center plays, because it was kind of the mistake early that led to the crazy finish there. But you do what you got to do to get the out.
Well, that's one of the things as an outfielder, especially a left fielder, that you learn to read is any ball in the air off that left-handed bat, is if it lands, it's going to kick to the line just because of the way that it's spinning. And you just see that in the air with the play Dawson made just a minute ago.
She's been busy out there in left, has made a couple of nice snags. And of course, that one added to the list. What have you thought about Lily Walker's outing so far as she delivers this 0-1 outside?
I mean, she's throwing hard. It's hard. It doesn't matter what type of pitcher you are. When you go against a lineup like Oklahoma can provide, it's tough. She's done a great job hitting her spots on some of these. I just think her biggest thing is make Oklahoma earn the runs. Make them put 2 and 3 base, at bats together to force a run across. You can't give up just an easy home run, leaving that ball over the plate to where they make it easy on them.
That's the thing that's really hurt them so far, because like you said, they haven't put together those innings. Even earlier against Hofstra, they haven't put together an inning more than 2 runs, but they ended up run-rolling the Pride because they scored in every frame. They've scored 2 runs in 2 out of the 3 innings so far in this one. They might not be done yet, but we haven't seen that Oklahoma patented big inning where you put up 7, 8, 9 runs, and yet they're still winning these games pretty handily.
Well, and that just might be the lineup that they have this year, too. I mean, you think about the lineups the past years from 1 to 9, you didn't want to face any of them. It doesn't matter if it's the top of your lineup or the bottom. And so you have some relief, some chances to take a breath within this lineup, but you can't give up the big hits like that.
This one fouled away by McEnroe Marinas. Continues to battle here. Captain, despite just being a redshirt freshman on this roster for Oklahoma. Hard hit ball into right. Playable for Walkendorf. She'll track it down, closing in on the right field line, 2 away. That might be the first time we've seen a ball hit to right field by Oklahoma.
Number 50, Ailana Agbayani.
Agbayani steps in. Was hit by a pitch in her first at-bat, was bailed out in that meeting with Walker. No such thing here. One hopper to pylon, snagged, and the toss to first in time. Oklahoma with another 2-run blast. They lead it 4-0 over Baylor. The same level of success, but they're still tabbed as 2 of the top 3 teams in the league.
You talk about just, when you get into conference play, it's down to work. You're fighting for that championship, but really fighting for a spot in the regional championship. And so to come from the SEC right there with so many top teams, I mean, you've got to really establish your game in these preseason games to gain the confidence to go in and face that schedule.
Of course, Baylor with the opportunity now without Texas and OU in the Big 12 to make a run in their own right. Trying to play those SEC schools. Baylor played in the Gainesville Regional last year, was 1 win away from their first trip to Oklahoma City in the Women's College World Series since 2017. And what a series that was, just back and forth with Florida. Very tightly contested, and now the Gators picked second in that preseason poll, showing the respect that they have coming their way. Strikeout retires the first batter of the inning.
You just see Ashlyn Walkendorf there, just waves her bat at that. That ball's coming in so hard. Trying to protect the plate in that instance with 2 strikes and just not even close.
Baylor still fighting for their first hit of the day. As we go to the second time around the batting order, Brooklyn Carter steps up after a strikeout in her first plate appearance. And with Baylor playing as well as they did down the stretch last year and working into postseason play, ultimately winning a regional, going on to Gainesville in the Super Regional, you get better from year to year with transfers and returners, and there's a lot of those from the Baylor side. They didn't lose a ton of talent, but they did bring in a bunch of returning faces and a bunch of transfers that they're excited about. Do you feel like the expectations for Baylor is back to Oklahoma City or bust this year?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's always
Sure.
the ultimate goal. I mean, and when you have a taste of it and you get so close to, especially in a super regional, you want to definitely come back and you're ready to fight. I mean, you have leaders like Amber Tovin and Presley Pylon and Shailene Govan that, hey, this is our goal. This is what we're doing. And now you're trying to lead all the new people and you're trying to lead all a team of 7 freshmen, 11 newcomers on your team. You know, you got to get them on the same page and the same goal, and this is what we're fighting for. It's one thing to be passionate and to want that, but it's another thing of how to lead that in your team.
This one has a chance to fall, but Agbayani had a great read on it initially, was playing in toward the baseline and immediately vacated to reel it in for out number 2.
Not a bad idea by Brooklyn Carter, knowing, hey, I'm a lefty, that ball's coming in on me. I see a right fielder that's playing kind of deep. Try and drop it in there. Ultimately, he just got a little too much underneath it. Gave time for Agbayani to get over there and make that grab.
Pylon steps in with 2 down, nobody on. Grounded out in her first at-bat, hitting .421 on the year. 21st at-bat of the campaign, has 5 RBIs already. Baylor with wins last weekend against ACU, Purdue, Villanova. And then, of course, their opening win of the Getterman Classic, a 7-0 win over Hofstra last night. Pylon pops it up, Pickering underneath it. It's another 3-up, 3-down inning for the Oklahoma defense. Baylor retired in order. The Sooners sending the bottom 3 in the lineup next. Here in Waco, Oklahoma taking on the Baylor Bears. Now joined by head coach Glenn Moore. Coach, it's a big weekend for learning about your ball club, playing some high-level competition. What have you thought so far?
Well, we're just breaking it down to inning by inning, trying to win innings, trying to get better, as you said. And, you know, we're thin in the bullpen right now, so we're just trying to work our pitchers. This is early. We can't get too high, too low. We just got to win at bats, get better every time we have an opportunity. And playing a great team like Oklahoma is going to help us do that.
Coach, your bat's got to come alive here, and I know you know that. What do you do to kind of get that spark going in the box?
Well, I thought we had some good at-bats last inning before last, and, you know, we drew some walks, made her pitch, work a little harder. We had her, you know, up to 40 pitches in the first 2 innings, and I think that's the way you do when you're facing a good pitcher. She's got a half a point ERA, a run ERA, so she's not going to give up a whole lot. You just got to wear her down. Hopefully you see a better pitcher later on, or better pitches to hit later on in the game.
Coach, thanks so much for taking some time.
Gotcha.
Glenn Moore joining us from the third base dugout as his Bears trail 4-0 at home against Oklahoma. Alongside Kelly Harrell, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us here on a beautiful day in Waco, Texas. 70 degrees and sunny. Second game out of 3 total of the Getterman Classic Day 2. 3 more on the docket for tomorrow as well. A round robin between Baylor, Oklahoma, and Hofstra. OU sending their bottom 3 in the order. They've been anything but the bottom 3 production hitters this weekend so far. Barker with a 2-run blast in her first at-bat. Not only that, but she had an RBI triple in the first matchup with Hofstra, and players like Garcia double in her first at-bat. She had a couple of hits as well. Bottom of the order producing just as much as the top so far for the Sooners.
Well, a lot of the time you'll set up your roster for that, you know, especially if you got some speed. you want to see some speed at the 8, 9, and then to carry over into the 1 spot. So you kind of wonder, you look at your lineup and you look at how your players are going to fare, and so you try to guess, okay, when does that natural break come so that we can start fresh the next inning?
Hot shot foul down the third baseline. That's one thing that OU has always done. They haven't just had the power.
Yeah.
They've had the speed. They've had that athleticism that they could kind of rely on from one game to the other. If you're not having the power bats show up, you can win it because of that element too.
Well, I think you rewind that to about the OU team of 4 or 5 years ago, and then you get so much talent that, top to bottom, you've got power. It doesn't matter if you're in the 6th hole or 9 or if you're the leadoff. And I kind of, with a new team and so many fresh faces, I think Oklahoma might need to go back to that. Haven't had an opportunity to really see it yet, but sometimes when you look at that SEC lineup and who you're facing every single day, starting in March, you can't always rely on the big hats with the big bats and the big hits.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to find a way to manufacture some runs, and that's honestly what Baylor's facing right here. Can't rely on the big swings. We got to get a base runner, you got to get a hit, you got to move some people around and try and force that first run or two.
Trying to win the inning. Poke the other way. Tough play for Walkendorf, but she tracks it down. Had a late start on it. Kind of a knuckler on a line drive, but makes it look easy out and right.
Yeah, that's that inside-out swing right there on an outside pitch. Just spins or gets definitely a weird spin off the end of the bat. Walkendorf able to hang on to it, track it.
Sky high in the left field, but it's the shortstop, Tobin, that tracks it down. That's the type of effectiveness that Walker's been looking for. Just one pitch, one out. Really, Oklahoma's done a great job of taking Walker deep into these counts and making her work inside the circle, even if it's limited action across the board.
Oklahoma might be looking for that too, knowing, hey, she's going to come in around the plate, and so I'm approaching the bat swinging with the mindset of his first pitch swinging. And then that's where you're Lily Walker, you got to mix that up. You're throwing that where that first pitch isn't a strike anymore. You're missing, making them chase a little bit and trying to expand.
Corners in, and the changeup catches the outside against Emmerling.
It's definitely harder to do, as Coach Moore said, the later you get into the game. And I mean, Walker here now throwing 61 pitches on a day. You don't want to, totally reframe the strike zone at this point in the game, but at the same time, you've got to find a way to mix things up as these Oklahoma hitters come now 2 and 3 times through the lineup.
These are talented hitters across the board. Garcia at the plate after doubling back in the 2nd inning. Slow swinging bunt. Spinner to first in time by Walker, and the side is retired in order. We are through 3.5, halfway through this one. Bears sending 3-4-5 to the plate. Patty Gasso joins us as we go to the bottom of the 4th. Coach, it's off to a great start again, 4-0 over Baylor. What have you thought about the first couple innings here?
Really like Kirsten Deal in the circle. She's done a really good job of staying ahead of hitters, allowing our defense to play. We don't need, 100 strikeouts. Just feed our defense. We'll make plays for you. Put some action plays on. These guys really did a good job of executing. We're working the long ball today. So it's been fun to see not just seniors or upperclassmen, but our freshmen coming to life as well.
Well, you got a lot of new faces, but really you have a whole new lineup from the last 4 years. And so what kind of excites you about this?
It's fun. It's fun to watch the youth and them just kind of trying to live in the cleats of those that came before them. It's a little bit of pressure for them, but when they all get together, they're a very gritty, feisty team. And I know Glenn would like that. His teams are always like that as well. But
You're right.
I'm having fun with it.
Well, they've got the right coach to lead them. Coach, thanks so much. Appreciate you taking time.
Thank you.
Patty Gasso joining us as we get ready for the bottom of the 4th. This will be a tough test for Kirsten Deal. Govan, Coleman, and Flores, 3, 4, 5 in the Baylor order, due up after they were shut down the first time around without a hit. And if you're going to get through the middle of the lineup here, this could be an X factor for Oklahoma in keeping that 0 on the board.
Yeah, it'll be big, but I mean, this is a big turn right here for Baylor. You know, you're hitless, you're scoreless, you're facing the #3 team in the nation, and man, what a chance to start this inning and this opportunity with some of your top 3 hitters. You're a 2-time All-American. You're leading batting average in Taria Coleman coming in this weekend, and then just a powerhouse that's swinging the bat well, Abby Flores.
Govan gives this one a ride. That one will drop in for Baylor's first hit. She'll take the big turnaround first, into second, standing up with a leadoff double. That's the way to get it started. First hit of the season for the All-American.
Now that's the spark right there that Baylor needs. You got a base runner. You know, your people you turn to, your leaders that you've been listening to all year are finally stepping up. Govan there with a leadoff double. First hit of the season, like you said, and then now you got Taria Coleman who's swinging the bat well and giving Baylor a chance to just put something together here.
It's only the second extra base hit allowed this year by Deal. Early in the count, maybe that's the success piece as well. When Baylor's put good bat on ball, really it's been in the first, second, or third pitch of the at-bat. Maybe that's an attack mentality issued by Coach Moore out of that third base coach's box.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do something different. Deal is throwing that ball all around. You're watching going deep in the count, but then, you know, then you're behind the ball and trying to chase. And so why not have that, like you said, attack mentality, looking for that good pitch early in the zone. That could be coming from Deal too. She's now 53 pitches in on the day. No, it's early in the season. She doesn't have the stamina that she would in May.
She misses the first 2 here, not by much on either. Good take from Coleman on the first 2 pitches of the at-bat to get ahead. Coleman hitting .562 on the year. That'll go up. That one's in the alleyway as it hits off the bottom of the wall. That'll score 1. Baylor's on the board. Back-to-back doubles. This one with an RBI for Taria Coleman.
Well, and just trading places right there. Double for double. I mean, that solid base hit. That's a double you'd like to see right there. Taria Coleman making it happen with that RBI. Scoring Carolyn Rowett from second base. Going down to get that ball. Such a beautiful swing.
She's been on a tear this year. Already 9 runs batted in by Coleman. Only her second double, though. It's mostly been singles across the way, just in the right place, right time. And here she is converting again. Baylor with their first run and a runner in scoring position with Flores up, Dawson to follow, Tovin in the hole, and you've got nobody out. This is exactly what we were talking about going into the inning. The opportunity at hand, second time through the order.
Well, and just taking any opportunity you have to attack. I mean, it's late in the game for a softball game. I mean, you've got to find a way to make something happen, starting with just erasing that 0 off the hits column and now erasing that 0 off the runs column and just continuing to attack. I mean, 4 runs is not a lot. 4 runs against Oklahoma can be a little different, but you've got to just chip away. I think a Baylor team that wants to return to Oklahoma City and wants to compete and, you know, finish higher than 4th in the Big 12. I think the number one thing you need going into this is confidence. And it's games like this where, like, hey, we can compete against the number 3 team right now. We can compete against Oklahoma. Look at how we chipped away and scored some runs. You can build the confidence to do that at this level, then all the other games comes a little easier at that point.
Felt like they found that confidence late in the year in 2024. That's what led to those come-from-behind victories against regional foes and super regional foes across the way in the postseason last year.
Well, and you never know what a season's going to bring. And I know, you had some injuries early, and so you recap from those and find a new rhythm. And then you get some more injuries, and, man, you're just fighting at the end. But you have the you have the confidence. You have the freshmen that aren't freshmen by the time you get into April, and you have the transfers that are truly a part of your team at that point.
This one put on the ground by Flores. It'll advance the runner. Coleman on to third. Flores retired for the first out of the inning, but Baylor has a runner 60 feet away trying to cut the Oklahoma lead in half.
And you can see the frustration right there by Flores, but I'm going to give her just a kudos, because that's not the prettiest hit, and that's probably not what you want. But when you had a lefty thrown outside to a left-handed batter, and you have to get around that ball to get a ground ball to the right side just to move the runner up 60 feet, that's huge. That's not an easy task to do. Obviously, the competitor she is, she wants that RBI to come across, but, I mean, to sacrifice a runner over to perhaps get another run at this point, that's big.
Other thing that might not look the case, at least at the moment, is the fact that Baylor has had 3 at-bats with runners in scoring position. This is the 4th as Dawson steps in. Oklahoma's only had 1. They're 0 for 1. It's like what Coach Gasso just talked about. It's the long ball. They're playing to the long ball today.
Long ball right now.
They're 2 swings away from this being a 1-0 Baylor lead.
Well, and if that's the game you want to play and that's what you're relying on, you better have the talent to do that.
In charges for the catch. Dayton there. Made a strike on the short throw back to the plate. No chance for Coleman to advance. 2 down.
Just textbook right there. I mean, seeing that ball up in the zone, you got to catch the ball first, but she knows the speed of Coleman at third base. Comes up gunning, makes an excellent throw right at home.
So now it's up to Amber Tovin, the veteran in this lineup for Baylor. This is crucial, you would think, for Baylor. If you end up with 2 runs here in the inning, you feel pretty good about the frame across the board. Like Glenn Moore said, it's about winning every inning. You would win this one by 2. Sets up the offense for success later on. Swing and a miss here evens the count. Tovin right under the 300 mark on the year. 7 runs batted in. She worked a walk back in the 2nd inning. Swing and miss here. 1 and 2.
2 big swings right there by Tovin. Almost too big for this setting. I mean, she's got to make adjustment on this swing.
Another good eye on a close take. Tovin on the season already, hitting .375 with runners in scoring position. Almost 100 points better than her normal average. Works with the open stance off the left side against the lefty. Hard hit ball back up the middle. Tough make from there. Agbayani had to adjust back to the ball on an awkward hop, but makes the play. And the inning is over. Baylor on the board. It's 4-1 Sooners. Time at the Foster Pavilion just down University Drive. 74-71 over the Mountaineers in Big 12 play. Big win for Scott Drew's bunch. And then right now the Baylor women, Nikki Collin and company, in a battle with Texas Tech as this first pitch is sliced foul by Dayton. Right now with 4 minutes left in the 4th quarter of that game, Baylor leads Tech 57-56 in a 1-point game. That one's out in Lubbock at United Supermarkets Arena. We're here at Getterman Stadium. Alongside Kelly Harrell, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Top 25 matchup between former conference foes meeting as non-conference opponents for the first time since Oklahoma made the jump to the SEC. Worm burner to short. Tovin is there. 1 down as Dayton is retired. Did you get all that, by the way?
A lot of sports.
A lot of action in Waco and around Waco at the moment. Of course, Baylor will play Hofstra here at Getterman Stadium 30 minutes following the conclusion of this one. Originally scheduled for 5. It'll probably be closer to 5:30, 6 o'clock, at least at the current pace that we are on. Oklahoma done for the day after this one. They'll face both teams again tomorrow. all of which on ESPN+. Nice off speed that time from Lily Walker as she's in her 5th inning of work. Has yet to retire Parker, who combined with her matchup with Hofstra is 5 for 6 on the day. Five for 6 with a couple of home runs and 5 RBIs. Not a bad day at the office. Now she works to a hitter's count at 3 balls and 1 strike. It's the top 3 in the order for Oklahoma. Dayton led off with that hard hit ground out to Tovin. And it's Parker and Sanders to follow. Remember, Sanders had the 2-run bomb in the 3rd inning. Called strike.
Well, to retire Parker right now, the way she's swinging the bat, it's going to be big. Consider that a win right there by Lily Walker.
And another base hit for Ella Parker. 3rd of the game, her 6th of the day. Back-to-back 3-hit contest to begin the Getterman Classic.
Number 1, Sydney Sanders.
The reigning SEC Co-Player of the Week, living up to the expectation so far.
She's making every at-bat worth it.
And again, it sets the table for Sydney Sanders. Sanders, who struggled in that first matchup, but did hit the 2-run bomb today. Struck out in her first at-bat. Came back with a vengeance, a 2-run blast in the 3rd to make it 4-0. That's the last time Oklahoma scored. Checks her swing for ball 2. Runner goes, hard hit ground ball at second. Chance for 2, over to second, and Pylon's throw to first sails into the Baylor dugout. Excuse me, the Oklahoma dugout, but either way, on to second goes Sydney Sanders. So a chance for the fielder's choice, and the double play goes awry. They get the out at second.
We've seen less of that than the actual double play by those two up the middle. Typically, you can always count on that double play between Tovin and Pylon.
Yeah, you mentioned really that connection earlier. It's still early in the season, so maybe a chance to get that all figured out. Glenn Moore wants to have a conversation with our officials. Not sure what it would be about, unless there was some level of interference across the way.
Yeah, when walking out onto the field, you kind of look at him question second base. So wondering if she didn't slide in time, or you know, didn't make an effort, or made too much of an effort at that bag. It's something around second base I could see him questioning.
Yeah, and they did call Parker out, so it's not like they called a vicinity play or whatever could have led to her staying at second. So I think you're spot on.
When you look at Pylon's throw, and she kind of touches the base and then has to go over the runner's head.
Oh.
Kind of puts that sliding mitt up in the air right before she goes to slide.
If that wasn't totally illegal, I would probably say that's a smart play, but you can't impede the throwing angle of a fielder at any point across the way. And Parker certainly had, I don't think you can say you're raising the hand to slide, because a lot of times that's where the momentum takes you.
Sure.
But that was a pretty deliberate hand up in the air, and good on Coach Moore to see that across the way.
2 or 3 steps before he made the way down.
That's what he's showcasing out of the dugout. It was a quick review. I wonder if we'll get an overturn here. Oh, not the case. I think Coach Moore probably thought, even with the video review, that probably would turn into interference. The only thing I can think of there is maybe it didn't impede the throw specifically.
I don't know. Pylon makes that a high throw over to first base, trying to throw over the sliding Parker. So, I don't know. I'm kind of with Coach Moore. It doesn't hurt to ask about it.
So the call on the field stands. Runner at second. They'll pinch run for Sanders. Speedy Maya Bland is now at second. Was a pinch runner a number of occasions throughout the national championship run for Oklahoma last year. First pitch delivered for a strike against Cassidy Pickering. Oh for 2 against Lily Walker here in this one. And she's down 0-2. Four runs on 6 hits, no errors for Oklahoma. They've only left 2 on base so far, with 1 at second currently. For Baylor, it's 1 run on 2 hits, both of those doubles. The 1 error, putting the runner at second base after the wild throw from Pylon. They've left 3 runners aboard here in this one. 0-2 from Walker.
Not a bad miss right there, 0-2. Trying to get her Pickering chasing here. But honestly, I feel like Walker has been more effective just leaving her kind of speechless on that ball in.
Oh, not a bad miss there either. The Baylor dugout certainly wanted it.
Walker certainly wanted it. You can see her kind of walking out of the circle at that point.
Sometimes that has a sail element to it. 2-2. Time called at the plate. Pickering, who's had a slow start to the weekend so far, but such a talented power bat in the middle of that Sooner lineup. You do not want to give her anything over the plate. And this one drops low. McEnroe Marinas is on deck. She's also 0 for 2. So a walk here to Pickering would not be the worst thing, but you don't want to put any runner on for this Sooner lineup. 3-2. That's exactly what'll happen. So the open base at first is now filled.
Number 2, Nelly McEnroe.
Bland at second, Pickering at first after the first issued walk by Walker.
Like you said, not the worst thing because you now have a force at any of the bags, but I mean, for somebody you've retired twice that night, that's a hard one to lose.
Especially up in the count as early as that was. 1-2, you would feel pretty good about your chances at that point.
Well, now 82 pitches in, Walker's really struggling to find a strike at this point. You got to have a little bit of both, something that's going to make him chase, but you got to get a strike in there. Just don't quite know where some of these pitches are missing.
And that one just a little outside. The frustration starting to build from the Baylor faithful in attendance. Good contingency of both in the stands here at Getterman Stadium. Oklahoma traveling well as they normally do. That's a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike to McEnroe Marinas.
I mean, Oklahoma opening weekend last weekend in California, so 4-hour trip was a whole lot closer.
You gotta love the Sooner faithful that backs the Sooners as well as they do. That's a chopper. Called a foul ball, a late call from the home plate umpire, William Pillow. There's a look at it as it clanks off of the left foot, I believe. Left shin. That one doesn't feel good, does it?
No.
He's had one or two of those in your day.
It's one thing when you can wear it off the pitcher because you know you get a free base. It's another thing when you do it to yourself.
This one just foul. Yeah, you don't even have like the fallback moment in that regard. It's like, I get the free base. I did my job. Now you got to get back in and battle with 2 strikes. This is a big pitch incoming. Baylor trying to keep this within arm's length. Give their lineup an opportunity to make some noise and close the gap here in the bottom of the top of the 5th. And it gets even more imperative with a full count. McEnroe Marinas at the plate. Runners will go. 3-2. Outside, ball 4. Back-to-back walks. Now the question becomes, how long is the leash inside the circle for Walker? How much grace do you give the star left-hander? And it appears Glenn Moore says this is your inning.
He did mention in the interview his bullpen is shallow, so, you know, kind of see what you're made of right here.
Oh, and it comes inside and hits Agbayani. That'll drive in a run. That's the 2nd time she's been hit in this one. Everybody advances. Sanders, who was pinch run for by Bland, will score. And Glenn Moore not happy about where that was. He talked about the early call that he thought maybe she was in front of that one, didn't try and get out of the way. Here's a look at it again.
She definitely opens her shoulders and makes an attempt at the swing, but that ball hits the back. It's like, oh, I thought it hit the back by the leg. It looks like it hits that front knee. Either way, she's in the box. You never want that, but then you really don't ever want that when you've got bases loaded too.
Absolutely. He scores a run. 5-1 now Sooners, and a dangerous bat, and Sydney Barker working to the plate.
It's like a warning was given to the Baylor dugout there. Probably Coach Moore giving a little bit more input.
He'll have that conversation as much as needed. You might think this is just a non-conference matchup in the middle of February, but in front of a crowd like this and a matchup with these 2 teams as highly respected as they are, and there's a lot at stake for recruiting, a lot at stake for pride. And it's the first of 2 meetings, so you want to get off on the right foot.
Well, I'm going to just jump in there, too, because it doesn't matter if this is 3 versus 23 or if you're playing on a sandlot field with some made-up teams. Coach Moore's going to compete, and this is his way of competing. He knows the game, and he knows, hey, I'm going to be an advocate for my kids and an advocate for my pitcher right here who's you know, trying her best in this moment.
Yeah, even after the hit by pitch and a couple of walks here, Walker remains in the game. Coach Moore wants to see the lefty battle through. That one's hit well, deep in the left field. That one's got a chance. 2 homers for the freshman. This time it's a grand slam. Oklahoma takes full control on the road in Waco.
Well, not leaving anything up to fate, continuing to just rely on that long ball game. that one might have been the nail in the coffin. No doubt about it off the bat. Walker is struggling to find a strike at that moment. Coming off of a hit by pitch, just leaves that ball well into the zone.
Barker entered the day with just 5 RBIs in her young freshman career. She has 6 in this game alone. And that'll do it for Lily Walker. Fought hard all the way up until this top of the 5th inning, but now she'll give way to Sadie Ross, who of course pitched most of the matchup with Hofstra last night. And Ross will step up to the rubber with the bases cleared after the true freshman hits her 3rd home run of the season and plates 4. It's now 9-1. And what that does now is it puts Baylor against the wall. They have to score in the bottom half of the inning or else this game is over.
You know, and you wonder sometimes that's how you play the game. I mean, let's see what pitcher's made of. Let's see what kind of gut she has. Let's let her work through this mental struggle of a hit by pitch, you know, 2 walks, a hit by pitch, and then now giving up her grand slam. I mean, she's got a lot to think about sitting in the dugout right there, coming off of that. But then how can you shut that down and turn around and be a teammate? I mean, you can't wallow in what you've set up, but you've got to find a way to help your team. Like you said, at least get 1 run here. Get out of this inning, get a run, and extend the game as much as you can.
Baylor in the bottom half of the inning will have the 8-9-1 hitters. Right now, the 8-9-1 in the order are combined 0 for 4 against Kirsten Deal. There's Sydney Barker. What a day she's had. Started by an RBI triple in the 3rd inning of game 1 against Hofstra. And then 2 homers in this one. Oklahoma has been the benefactor of 2 players with multi-home run games. First it was Ella Parker, and now it's Sydney Barker. Called strike to start the at-bat with Isabella Emmerling, and followed up with another 0-2. Infield back for Baylor. I think what hurts the most about this inning isn't the fact that the grand slam happened and the runs were across the board. It's the fact that you had a chance to get out of this inning without a run. A fielder's choice and error, a couple of walks and a hit by pitch, and then the grand slam. That's how it happened. There's only 2 hits in the entire inning. It was the leadoff single from Parker, and then it was the grand slam from Parker at the end of the frame. That's all you had to work with.
It's really hard to let your defense do some work and play full 9 on the field when you're dealing that from the circle. But that's where, you know, Coach Moore wants to establish his pitchers and let them get some endurance, let them see some at-bats, let them struggle through that progressive struggle. Sometimes it's not always successful.
Coach Moore looking on. Biggest inning of the day so far for Oklahoma. They had scored in almost every frame, but now they've put up the big 5 runs here on the frame to push it to an 8-run advantage.
You know, like you said, the first time really Oklahoma has extended the inning and you've seen multiple at-bats, but again, it's not because it's the constant attack. It's, you know, they made a way on base and found a way against the pitcher, especially late in the game.
Chopper sent to 3rd. Coleman with the momentum taking her that direction will complete the inning. Sydney Barker, after hitting a 2-run blast in the 2nd, comes through A freshman grand slam. Oklahoma with a chance to run rule Baylor with 3 more outs when we come back. One run on those 2 hits. Deal has been tremendous.
Yeah, Coach Gasso said she liked what she saw there, and she's pitching well. She's proved herself at this point in the season.
Deal in her 3rd appearance of the season, having her best outing, probably against the best competition that she's seen. 4th outing of the season, that is. CSUN's, Cal State, Fullerton, Long Beach State. She went 6 scoreless against Long Beach State and allowed just 1 hit. Much different lineup facing now, though, against the top 25 Bears. That'll be a good way to start for Glenn Moore's bunch. In on the hands, doesn't matter. Leah Cran has it into center of the leadoff single.
Well, absolutely. If you want a chance to extend this game at all, extend this inning, really it's just a pride factor at this point. Hey, we just gave up 5 runs last inning. We got to at least get 1 across to answer back. Find a way to fight and answer back.
This one turning and bunting is Walkendorf. This would be the way to do it. Put up a big inning in your own right and try and answer the bell after Oklahoma put up 5 in the top half of the 5th. Sooners tying their season high for runs in an inning, but the wild part about it, they've not scored more than 5 in an inning, but they've done so now 5 times this season alone through the first now 9 games of the year. They did so once against San Diego State. They did it twice against Cal State Fullerton, and then again in the opening inning against Loyola Marymount. Throw on to second, gets the lead runner. Cran is retired on the fielder's choice. And we go back to the top of the Baylor lineup for Brooklyn Carter.
At the plate here, Bears, it's number 11, Brooklyn Carter.
Carter 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a pop out. He's failed to leave the infield yet. This one behind home plate, playable, diving play. No. Everling gave it her all and nearly came up with it.
Definitely a great turn on that ball and a great effort diving.
Oh.
It's like she hit that ground and ball just popped right out. You got to give her some credit for that effort.
Almost counted as a catch in football. The ball can't cause a fumble or an incompletion. She had the glove underneath it, but just could not hold on. That would have been a big second out for a team trying to close out their 2nd straight 5-inning win to begin the Getterman Classic. Walkendorf does have some speed over at first.
Walkendorf does have some speed, but you also don't want to kill any sort of momentum you have with an extra out right here, not necessary.
Carter gives it a ride, but slicing away from Dayton, who's still there to track it down. All the way into the alleyway to make it happen. And pylon is the final shot for Baylor to keep this one alive. Only takes 1 swing to try and turn this around for the Bears. The unfortunate side of that is that it's been tough to get 1 swing against Kirsten Deal.
You say we've seen the difference just 1 swing can make from the Oklahoma Sooners side of things. all but one of their runs today were scored on a home run.
Yeah, the other one was a hit by pitch.
With bases loaded.
Pylon 0 for 2. Hitting .381. 5 RBIs on the campaign. Good eye there. Even at this point in the ball game, Deal at 80 pitches and not missing her spots by a whole lot. Pylon fouls it away. Baylor down to their final strike. Baylor took the opening game of the Getterman Classic last night against Hofstra, Oklahoma. Took down the Pride in game 1 today. The Sooners looking to close out a win on the road. Hard hit ball. Pylon will extend it for the moment. On the second is Walkendorf. Nearly a force out at the bag, but it will continue at least to Shaylin Govan, who steps in.
Man, what a play right there, too. That ball was hit hard to center field. And Dayton just comes up gunning right at second, knowing there's a force there.
Talked about the speed from Walkendorf, and they were lucky to have that on the base pass. Good job by Walkendorf to see where that ball was headed and know she has to stay on the bag at second. She'll take a break here as a pinch runner is called upon for Coach Moore. It's Gigi Lindsay, and now Patty Gasso will have a chat with her infield. Lindsay replaces Walkendorf at second base as the pinch runner.
You got a coaching moment right here, teachable moments. You know, you got a hard hit ball to center field like that, and Walkendorf comes standing in, makes that play a little bit too close. Coach Moore just wants an opportunity. I'm gonna say something to her right here. Put Lindsay into pinch run, but you got to be sliding. You got to be making an effort in there.
Coaching moments on the other side as Patty Gasso makes the switch in the circle, and now makes a switch with one more out to get here in the 5th. As Sam Landry will trot on. What a start to the year Landry has had. 1-0 in her 3 appearances this year. How about this? 23 strikeouts and just 2 walks to her total.
That's a great ratio right there.
She's been tremendous to start. Still gives up some runs every now and again. You see the ERA above 2. It's almost rare in the Patty Gasso era to see pitchers have that much success from a strikeout to walk ratio element, but also give up the runs at that high of a clip. See if it matters on this occasion. This is fastball pitcher versus fastball hitter. Shaylin Govan steps in for Baylor. All-American, trying to keep the game alive.
Govan was the spark that did it earlier in the second for Baylor. And Coach Gasso recognizes that and remembers that. I'm not going to take any chances right here this late in the game. Let's close this out with two outs. And you return somebody in the throwing hard like Kirsten Deal. I mean, to your another top ace, Sam Landry.
She delivers a strike there on the heater, taken for strike 1. Landry saw this Baylor lineup last year as a part of the Louisiana Regional. She was a part of that Raging Cajuns pitching staff that Baylor ultimately defeated to move on to the Super Regional. Delivers a strike here. In that matchup, Govan went 0 for 3, but did have an RBI in the final matchup with Landry. Down to their final strike again. That one sails outside. Landry pitched in all 3 meetings with the Bears during that Louisiana Regional. 1-1 and lost 2. Two on the way. Govan puts a charge into it, but it's right to Dayton in center. Oklahoma has a perfect first day at the Getterman Classic. They down both Hofstra and Baylor in 5 innings. 9-1 the final, thanks to the hot bats and 3 different homers, 1 from Sidney Sanders and 2 from Sidney Barker, including a grand slam by the freshman to cap a 5-run top of the 5th as this one comes to a close.
Those Sooners just relying on that long ball, but just really taking advantage of every mistake thrown at the plate. And you could see they're a great team. They're number 3 in the nation for a reason, and they came out and proved it today.
No doubt about that. We've got one more game here from the Getterman Classic on this Saturday in Waco. Baylor and Hofstra coming up in about 30 minutes. You can catch that one on